If you've done the worksheet, you've been asked to try and analyse this diagram a little bit and see what the problem is that's going on. The main issue here is this small fan site is unlikely to be particularly well written and very well secured. So the password protection in here might be quite weak. So if a hacker can find your password from this fan site, they'll try it anywhere they can think of. So if your password on this website is the same or fairly close to the one you use on Google, they've now got access to your Google account. Once they've got access to Google, most people have enough information in Google that they know they can find where you do your banking. They can even possibly ask your bank to reset passwords or other email addresses that you use and do it that way. They can gradually break down everything else if they can get into Google. If you've got a Google account and you use it heavily, they can break down and break into other systems. Things like Amazon and quite a few banks actually will trust a Google login. So if they can break into a fan site like I'm a Belieber and get your password out, and your password is similar enough to your Google one that they can get into that, then they might get into banks and purchase orders and other things and be able to really mess with people's lives. There have been people, their lives have been messed up for years because of getting breaches like this. So what can we do to reduce the problems of passwords? Number one, do not reuse passwords between websites. There is an argument to say also don't use a sequencing number. So don't do a guest 1, a guest 2, a guest 3, a guest 4. If you want to have passwords on different sites, you've got a problem of remembering it all. So you've got the password reminder in the Google, in your browser, that can actually remember passwords on different websites. The problem is they're not very secure. If you've got a device, if your password is being shared between different browsers and you go into on different computers and someone gets into that browser and sees your password, they can probably then get your passwords further down. Yes, you might have to put in a password, but most passwords people use on their browser to secure those things are quite weak. So just be careful about using passwords. Make sure your passwords are different on each site. If you want to be fairly secure with it, or pretty much the best secure, most security analysts now say use a password manager. Piece of software where they store about half the data, your passwords, half of a password on their own server in a very secure form, and the other bits are stored on your devices, and they're combined only on your computer. You need to check that that's what yours does. You've got a trust issue with this company, so use a trustworthy one. Quick thing down the bottom here, link to syncing. Be careful about sharing passwords. Do not give people your passwords and share them with each other, because it will get out there and it can easily break. You can find that you get locked out of your own account and someone is doing things with it. So things like password and password with 5s replacing letters, not at all strong. I'll show you in a minute with this strength meter. There's a link, or there's a picture, a cartoon in the notes, which is about the recommendation at the moment if you have to create passwords is to create long passwords by using 3 or 4 completely unrelated words. The example they give there is correct horse battery staple. They might seem awkward to remember, but if you take a few moments and even try and think of a picture that it comes up, you probably would remember those as well as the password they demonstrate above. A password that is just a meaningless jumble of 8 characters would be harder to remember than 4 separate words. You can add to that things like using different cases, using symbols, using numbers, if you want to do it, make it even stronger. But 4 words that are unrelated are pretty strong. This password strength meter, do not ever put in proper passwords you intend to use. You can do something like it, but never ever share a password with it. So let's just have a quick look at password. Password for a hacker, take no seconds. It's the first thing they'll try. Let's just show the password. Numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Very weak, no seconds to break. Choose 2 words. Horse, mouth. 60, over 60 seconds. Try and make them a little bit. Horse and mountain. Actually, mountain was less. I consider that quite, the word must be quite commonly used. Put some numbers into it. Now it's gone into 34. If I put a symbol in there, 2 hours. So it builds up quite quickly the more things you try. And this thing about having 4 different words, let's choose 4 random ones. Maze. My favourite word for doing hangman, jazz, very hard word to guess. Let's try a colour, ruby, and choose something else which is an animal, elephant. That's 5 years, and that's just 4 straight words. It will take them 5 years of their computer. They're working hard at it. Notice when I, slightly less, if I had elephant and then decided to do a 7 instead of that, I'm up to 9 years. But 7 and a T replaced with a 7 is not uncommon in those. Sorry, it's not COVID, I've got dust around. But if we go back and now say at elephant and maze 5, I'm up to 4,300 years. So I've got 6 things to remember there. Maze, 5, jazz, ruby, at, elephant. That's 6 things to remember. And I've got a 4,300 year password for them to break. Reasonably secure. Okay, so that's the end for the passwords. You've got a couple of little bits on Mark Zuckerberg to look at. Don't know why my screen's locked up, but the key thing Mark Zuckerberg is that section is showing. Is that going over there? Let's close the tab and see if it's that. So we're on to the last bit. The main thing, Mark Zuckerberg, he's covered cameras and microphones. He's worried about people eavesdropping. That means that he's worried about viruses. And a couple of things on viruses. Have a good internet security, including a good virus checker. Windows Defender is fairly strong as well now. It's pretty good. The good internet checker for links would be a good idea as well to reduce these problems. Also be very wary about using any found USB device, particularly drives. 2 problems. 1, they could be riddled with viruses, and number 2, they can actually have circuitry in them designed to kill your computer. I don't know why people are doing it, but it does happen at the moment. So please update your notes, save them, and I may demonstrate how I would like you to upload them using Google Classroom at the end of the start of the next lesson, because I would like you to do a little bit more research and then do a presentation to your parents of the information. And that will take a week, maybe 2. Okay, thank you very much, guys.